Discover the incredible journey of a hidden poor boy who became a life-changing king at just 14. In the heart of a vibrant yet struggling urban neighborhood, a 14-year-old boy named Miguel stood at the crossroads of poverty and hope. Every morning, he woke up to the harsh sounds of his surroundings, the blaring horns, the distant sirens, and the murmurs of his caring mother, Maria, who dedicated everything to raise him. She had sacrificed her dreams and stability after losing her veteran husband, becoming a fortress of love amidst their daily battles. With a fierce determination fueled by her resilience, Miguel took on odd jobs mowing lawns, washing cars, delivering groceries. Anything to bring home food, scraps still not enough to fill the void in their fridge. Yet, glimmers of a brighter future danced in his dreams. Despite the disdainful glances from the wealthier kids from the nearby suburbs, who laughed at his worn sneakers and tattered backpack, Miguel clung to his ambition. Each insult stung like a wasp, but he brushed them off, reminding himself of the fire within. It mattered not what they thought. He was more than just a poor kid. He was destined for greatness. One fateful afternoon, Miguel stumbled upon a rundown community center, faded paint peeling off the walls, weeded paths overgrown, a former sanctuary where his father had once worked tirelessly to lift families like his own. Through cracked windows, he glimpsed laughter, learning, and love, the irreplaceable resources that kept families afloat. But his heart sank when he learned of its impending closure due to lack of funds. Without that lifeline, families around him would sink into despair, just like his own had. Determined to turn the tide, Miguel gathered a diverse crew of neighbors' mothers, fathers, kids burning with potential. They pooled their hopes and dreams, pushing against the walls of the system that had long neglected them. But as he rallied support, he faced skepticism from the city officials who dismissed their plight as unworthy of attention. Even the whispers of doubt from a few familiar faces in his community cut deep, forcing him to confront a painful truth. This fight was more than just for the center. It was against the invisible chains of economic disparity that tightened around their lives. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His resolve grew firmer when he discovered the scholarship program, hidden within the center's depths, a chance for not only him but countless other kids to break free. As Miguel rallied the community for one last stand against the officials, he shared his story, raw and vivid. His words flowed like a river, a mixture of pain and hope. He spoke of nights spent hungry and days filled with work, echoing the dreams that were seldom seen or heard. In that moment, the crowd shifted. Skepticism melted into respect, and eyes that once looked down upon Miguel now showed admiration. The room buzzed with anticipation, but whispered doubts still lingered. Could they overcome the barriers built by decades of prejudice? With the stakes higher than ever, Miguel stood tall, his heart pounding. Would his voice echo through the halls of power or fade into the hopelessness he feared? The fight for a better future was just beginning, and the weight of possibility rested heavily on his shoulders. With each passing day, the community rallied behind Miguel's vision. Word spread like wildfire. Everyone felt the urgency of the situation. Families who once felt isolated and powerless started sharing their stories, revealing a shared pain that bound them together. Children began to believe they could dream bigger, and adults rekindled a spark of hope long lost. They organized bake sales, car washes, and talent shows to raise money and awareness. But the fight wasn't just about numbers. It was about dignity. Miguel sensed the fear around him, a fear that their voices would never be heard, that the city officials would ignore their pleas. There were moments when doubt crept in, but he reminded himself of the sacrifices Maria had made. For her, he would push forward. On a particularly crisp Saturday morning, Miguel stood on a makeshift stage outside the community center. A mix of excitement and anxiety filled the air. He could see familiar faces, his neighbors, his school friends, even the elderly couple from down the street. They had come to witness the call to action, to lend their support for the last stand in the fight to save their sanctuary. "Thank you all for being here," Miguel began, his voice firm, laced with a tremor of emotion. "This isn't just about a building. It's about our families, our dreams. Every kid in this neighborhood deserves chances we never had, opportunities to learn, to grow." As he spoke, he noticed a few of the wealthier kids from the suburbs standing at the edge of the crowd. They watched, some with disdain, while others seemed intrigued. Miguel felt a mix of anger and determination. They had never laid eyes on the struggles of the kids from his community. They were oblivious yet so close, separated by walls built on privilege. Together, he continued, "We can fight for what's ours. We've been pushed down for too long. But we are strong. Look around you. This is not just a fight for me. It's for everyone who believes they deserve more." Cheers erupted from the crowd, drowning out the whispers of doubt. Miguel felt the adrenaline surge through him like a tidal wave. His heart raced with every cheer and clapping hand. But as the crowd buzzed with excitement, a pang of fear gripped his stomach. What if city officials still didn't take them seriously? What if their efforts fell flat like so many before? The following week was decisive. The community scheduled a meeting with the city council, a chance to share their vision for the center. Miguel, honored but terrified, prepared a speech that laid bare the truth of their struggles. He poured their stories into a narrative that was both heartbreaking and hopeful. On the day of the meeting, they filled the uncomfortable wooden benches of the council chamber, each person's presence a testament to their resolve. As he made his way to the front, Miguel's heart beat loudly in his chest. The room was filled with city officials, most looking disinterested or lost in their phones. He took a deep breath and began. "We're here today to tell you that we matter. Our stories matter. Our community matters." With every word, he felt the weight of his neighbors' hopes pushing him forward. Would they stand through the next storm? Would the city listen? As the council members exchanged skeptical glances, Miguel saw a flicker of something different in their eyes: curiosity, perhaps even empathy. But just as he started to feel a glimmer of hope, someone from the back interrupted. "Why should we invest in this place? It's just a rundown building." Miguel's chest tightened. He needed to respond. Would he rise to the occasion or let despair overshadow what they built? As the murmurs surged, Miguel took a moment to gather his thoughts, feeling the fire in his belly ignite one last time. This wasn't over, not yet. With conviction, he countered, "It's not just about a building. It's about what it can become, a beacon of hope for this neighborhood." Would his voice cut through the skepticism? Would they recognize the importance of their dreams? The fate of the community rested on the edge of that moment. Would it tip toward hope or despair? Miguel felt the tension in the room shift, like a sudden breeze rustling through the leaves. His heart raced, and for a moment, he faced the sea of indifferent faces with a mix of apprehension and determination. He couldn't let that voice of doubt overshadow everything they had worked for. "Let me tell you what this center can do," he said, his voice unwavering. "This is not just a building. It's our lifeline. It's where dreams start. It's where I learned to read, where my sister found a team that believes in her talent. It's a place where children can be inspired." As he spoke, he scanned the crowded room. There was a flicker of interest among a few council members, a subtle shift in their postures. Perhaps they were beginning to understand. The murmurs quieted, and he pressed forward. "Many of us here," he continued, "come from families who work multiple jobs just to scrape by. We have dreams, but too often those dreams are crushed before they even see the light of day. This isn't just about us. It's about the future of our community." The crowd behind him erupted in collective agreement, voices raised, fists clenched. "I stand here, not just for my family, but for every single individual who has felt invisible, for every child who deserves to play, learn, and grow. Don't we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves?" Silence enveloped the room, broken only by the distant hum of a faint overhead light. Miguel could feel every pair of eyes on him, He was no longer just a kid with a dream but a symbol of hope and resilience. But the skeptical voice from before provoked another round of low murmurs. What do you expect us to do? It's a community issue, not ours. Miguel's heart sank for a moment, but then he felt the warmth of solidarity from the people behind him. He looked back at the crowd of friends and neighbors' families, children, the elderly couple who had come to support him. He turned back to the council members, his resolve as fierce as ever. This is your community too, Miguel asserted, his tone rising as passion enveloped him. We are all connected. When one of us suffers, we all suffer. Investing in this center is investing in a better tomorrow. Together, we can change the narrative. His voice soared as he reached the emotional peak of his speech. Imagine a place where our children can thrive. Imagine a future where we all succeed together. Don't look away. Look at us. We're here. We matter. As he finished, the applause was deafening, washing over him like a warm wave. Miguel could feel the emotions bouncing back and forth, people beginning to believe in something greater. But then, the head of the council cleared his throat, his expression unreadable. We will consider your request, he said slowly, looking at Miguel with a newfound intensity. That simple sentence sent a rush of hope through Miguel's veins. They were considering it. It was a small glimpse, but enough to fuel his spirit. Thank you, Miguel replied, his voice echoing throughout the chamber. Outside, the community exploded with joy and excitement, embracing one another. Tears flowed freely, laughter erupted, and hearts soared. Miguel felt it all a moment of triumph. But a shadow loomed in the back of his mind. What would happen next? Would the council genuinely support them, or could this be another empty promise? As they walked back into the comforting embrace of their neighborhood, Miguel felt the weight of their dreams heavier than ever. Are you ready for whatever comes next? He wondered aloud, glancing back at his friends, who nodded with fierce determination. But then, from among the smiling faces, a whisper floated to him. What if they say no? What if all this was for nothing? Miguel's heart sank again. The fear of failure gnawed at him. He took a deep breath, pushing the doubt away. They had come too far to turn back now. And yet, with each step, the weight of uncertainty pressed on. Would they rise again, or would all their efforts unravel? The next chapter of their fight had just begun. What would they face next as the winds of change began to blow? Miguel felt a mixture of optimism and anxiety as he walked home through the familiar streets, surrounded by the voices of his neighbors celebrating their small victory. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow on their faces, yet the shadows of doubt loomed large in his mind. They had made their voices heard, but would it last? Would the council's promise hold? He swallowed hard, the lump in his throat reminding him that the journey was far from over. Let's South meet at the park tomorrow, Miguel suggested, thinking about the plans he had made with his friends. We need to come up with a strategy. We can't just hope for the best. His friends agreed, but their bright smiles were slightly dimmed by the fear hanging over them. As the group dispersed, Miguel lingered behind for a moment, letting the laughter of his friends echo around him. He knew they needed a plan. How could they turn the council's words into action? He felt a surge of responsibility for them all. That night, when he finally laid down to rest, even sleep eluded him. The ceiling above felt like a giant clock, each tick marking a second of uncertainty. He stared at the shadows dancing on the wall, contemplating the countless hours of effort spent trying to reach this moment. Were all those sleepless nights worth it? In the early hours of morning, Miguel stumbled from bed, fueled by determination. He resolved to visit the community center, his sanctuary, the place where he had found hope. Sitting alone on the steps, he took a deep breath, letting the familiar sights wash over him: the bright murals, the playground where children played, the empty classrooms waiting to be filled with laughter. This was where it all began. This was where he learned to believe in himself. Suddenly, a figure approached through the morning mist: Sophia, his sister, holding a sketchbook tightly against her chest. Her eyes sparkled with creativity, an artist's passion blazing bright. She sat beside him, her presence comforting. "Hey, what's on your mind?" she asked, her voice soft yet filled with curiosity. "I'm just thinking," Miguel replied, "about what happens next. Can we really make this center everything it should be?" Sophia opened her book, displaying a vibrant drawing of the community center filled with children learning, playing, and dreaming. "This is what you want, right? A place where everyone can be happy and thrive?" She looked at him, eyes wide with hope. "Yes," Miguel affirmed, "but it feels like we're still so far from achieving it. What if we start small?" She proposed thoughtfully. "We can host workshops, art classes, anything that lets people come together and see the center's potential." Miguel nodded, excitement creeping into his chest. "That could work. If we show them what we can do, they might believe in us in the center, too." As they brainstormed more ideas, a sense of clarity emerged. They couldn't wait for change to happen. They needed to light the spark themselves. In the days that followed, Miguel and Sophia rallied their friends and neighbors, gathering materials for the workshops, promoting their ideas online, and reaching out to local artists and educators. Their energy was contagious, fueling the hope that they could bring the community center to life. But just as they began to find their footing, the council's decision loomed, the meeting that would determine the fate of everything they had fought for. Would their efforts be enough to sway their hearts? The last days before the meeting felt like a ticking clock, each moment stretching the tension. Miguel could feel the stakes rising, an electric charge thrumming in the air. He gathered everyone under the oak tree, their usual spot, to share one final rallying call. "We have come too far to give up now. We are stronger together." As he looked around at the glowing faces of his friends, he realized this wasn't just about the center anymore. It was about their community's heart, about the bonds they had forged. With every ounce of hope he possessed, Miguel clenched his fists. Whatever happened next would change everything. He could already feel it in the air, building like a storm waiting to break. What awaited them in the council chambers? Would they emerge victorious together, or would everything they fought for fall apart? The next morning, dawn broke with an intensity that felt different. The light spilled into Miguel's room, blurring the lines between dreams and reality. He sat up, heart racing. Today was the day that could change everything. He laced up his shoes, each movement heavy with purpose. The air outside was brisk, but he could feel warmth in his chest. As he made his way to the community center, he spotted familiar faces along the path, neighbors whispering excitedly, elderly friends offering nods of encouragement. The air buzzed with anticipation. When Miguel arrived, the space was alive with the clatter of preparations. Sophia was setting up a corner for art supplies, while their friends arranged chairs in a semicircle, creating a makeshift audience area. The community center was transforming before his eyes into a hub of hope. "Hey, over here." Sophia waved him over, her face glowing with excitement. "Look at this." She held up a vibrant sign they had painted together, which read, "Stronger Together." It was a visual reminder of their journey. "Looks amazing. Let us hope they see what we see," Miguel said, feeling an electric charge as they set up. As the hours faded, more smiles arrived, friends and family, anyone who believed in the possibility of transformation. With each new face, Miguel felt his resolve swell. He gathered everyone in a circle, the chatter dying down as he prepared to speak. "This center is more than just a building. It's a dream we've built together, brick by brick. Each of you has poured your heart into this. Today, we show them that we are ready, that we can bring this community back to life," he said, enthusiasm spilling from his words. The crowd cheered, fists pumping in the air. Then, as the sun climbed higher, it was time to head to the council chambers. Miguel felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. As they walked together, their steps seemed to echo in unison. The building loomed ahead, imposing and full of promise. Once they entered, the room was stark and intimidating, council members seated like stern judges. Miguel's throat was dry. But as he looked at the faces of his friends and family, something shifted. This was their moment. One by one, individuals from their community stepped forward, sharing heartfelt stories of how the center had impacted their lives. Miguel could see tears glistening, shoulders relax, hands squeeze in solidarity. Each voice wove a thread of connection, binding their stories together into a tapestry of resilience. Then came Miguel's turn. He stood tall, his heart pounding. We fought for this community center because it matters to us. It's a place where dreams can spark, where art can flourish, where children can play freely. It's not just a building, it's our second home. The council listened, some leaning forward, others crossing their arms. Miguel's voice wavered slightly, but he pressed on. We've just begun, but we know we can make this place thrive. All we need is your support. Just as he finished, there was a rustle at the back of the room. A man in a suit, someone Miguel recognized from previous council meetings, stood up. The air thickened with tension, and all eyes turned to him. I want to propose an amendment to this plan, he declared, his voice steady. We need to. What was he going to say? Would it be a lifeline or a barrier? The room fell silent, every person holding their breath, waiting for the twist that could change everything once again. The man in the suit straightened his tie, every eye still glued to him. We need to cut funding for non-essential projects. The community center is at risk. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Miguel's heart sank. Was this truly happening? He scanned the faces of his friends, and his heart clenched at the despair gathering in their eyes. They had poured their hopes into the center. After all the hard work, was it gonna all fall apart? An elderly woman from the back stood up. That's not fair. This place has brought joy and possibility to us all. You think art and community aren't essential? Her voice, quivering yet fierce, cut through the tension. Miguel admired her courage. Others began to follow her lead, rising from their seats, voices merging into a chorus of protest. This center is essential. It's a lifeline. We won't let you take it away. Miguel felt the fire of their determination spark within him. This fight wasn't over. He stepped forward again, heart pounding. I understand budgetary concerns, but this isn't just about money. It's about lives. The community center has given us hope, an escape, unity. We won't stand down without a fight. His voice cracked, but he didn't back down. He looked around, and for the first time he saw it. Every tear, every frown transformed into a steel resolve. There was an energy in the air, a sense of collective strength that felt almost tangible. A younger man, someone who had always been shy, stood up next. I'll share my story too, he called out, and Miguel couldn't believe his ears. After my mom died, coming to the center was the only thing that kept me from falling apart. It's not just a building. It's where I learned to play music, to feel alive again. His words opened the floodgates. People began sharing stories. Some brought laughter, some tears, but all united in passion for what the center meant to them. Miguel looked back at the council members. He could see how the man in the suit shifted in his seat, discomfort etched on his features. He was outnumbered, the community rising together. Then Sophia stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly but her eyes fierce. If this place is cut, it feels like you're taking away part of our family. We are more than just a neighborhood. We are a community that cares. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but there was strength in her voice. Miguel felt a surge of pride for Sophia and everyone else. They were creating something real, something powerful. He glanced at the council members. Some exchanged worried looks. Others were visibly moved. Then, with a sudden shift in mood, the man in the suit spoke again, but his tone had softened. Perhaps we should revisit the allocation of funds. There might be a compromise. Before he could finish, Miguel felt the energy of hope pulse through the crowd. But was it enough? It wasn't just about words. It was a call for commitment and for change. At that moment, Miguel realized the fight was bigger than him. It was for every child who dreamed, every artist who needed a canvas, every person who just wanted a place to belong. Together we are stronger, he said quietly to himself, fists clenched at his side, feeling the power of the moment swell. But just as the council members were about to deliberate, Another figure stood up in the shadows, a woman with a fierce look in her eyes. Miguel didn't recognize her, but something about her presence felt pivotal. "I have more to say," she started, and the room held its collective breath. What was coming next? Would it be a rallying cry or another setback? The tension in the room thickened as everyone turned to the woman. She was slight in frame but carried herself with a palpable strength. Miguel felt a shift in energy, almost as if she were a magnet drawing everyone's focus towards her. "My name is Elena," she declared, her voice steady despite the crack in it. "And I grew up just like many of you here. This center, it saved me, too." She paused, glancing around the room as nods of recognition echoed back to her. "I was homeless, lost. When I first walked into that building, I felt like I had finally found a home." Miguel's heart swelled. He could see the flicker of realization in the eyes of those around him. This was more than just a center for fun and games. It was a sanctuary. Elena continued, gathering momentum. "It wasn't just a place to find food or warmth. It was where I learned to be myself. It gave me the courage to pursue my dreams. I started painting there and discovered that I had a voice." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I went on to win a scholarship for my artwork, but my journey began right here in this very space. If it closes, you're stripping away hope from so many who need it, kids like me who just want a fighting chance." Miguel glanced at the council members again. Their expressions were shifting. It was hard to ignore the emotional pull of Elena's story. The elderly woman who had first stood up now clasped her hands together, nodding in fervent agreement, as if she could feel the weight of Elena's truth. Elena's voice rose. "Imagine if no one ever had the chance to tell their story, to touch the hearts of others. We cannot let this happen." The murmured agreement rippled through the crowd, amplifying the energy. Miguel wanted to cry. He was buoyed by the sea of voices united behind Elena's call. They were stronger together, holding one another up with every word spoken. "Take a stand with us," he shouted, feeling the momentum swell. "Let us show them that our community is worth fighting for." The room erupted with shouts and chants. "Save the center. We won back down." Motivated too by the pain of their realities and the dreams they shared, everyone was now more alive than ever in this moment of truth. The man in the suit shuffled uncomfortably, glancing to the other council members for support. They were all clearly unsettled by the outpouring of raw emotion. A woman beside him whispered something urgently, but Miguel could only focus on the energy rising from the crowd, filled with burning hope. Sophia stepped forward again, and Miguel smiled, encouraged by her resolve. "We don't just want empty promises. We want to thrive, not just survive. We're fighting for our future." The true weight of their situation began to sink in the danger of losing everything they had built together. It felt monumental. The tension in the room was like a live wire, crackling, alive, and refusing to be ignored. Just as the man in the suit began to gesture for silence, Elena shot him a fierce look. "You need to understand that we are not just a budget line in your reports. We are people. And if you're serious about finding solutions, then listen to us." As silence fell, Miguel felt an unshakable urge welling up inside him. They were on the edge of something significant, something that could change everything. Then he heard it, a familiar voice calling out. It was the shy girl from the center. "I've written a letter," she shouted, clutching a piece of paper like a lifeline. A hush fell over the crowd as all eyes turned to her. "What's the letter about?" someone asked from the back, and Miguel's heart raced. Would her words add fuel to the fire or turn everything upside down? With the council's skeptical gazes fixed upon her, he held his breath, apprehension and hope dancing within him. What would she reveal? The shy girl stood there, her face flushed with a mix of excitement and fear. The room held its breath, a collective heartbeat pulsing with her uncertainty. Miguel could almost hear the ticking clock in the corner, each second stretching thin under the weight of expectation. "Please, it's important," she stammered, glancing down at her paper. Given the trembling in her hands, it was clear that this moment meant everything to her. Elena stepped forward, her protective nature kicking in. "You can do this," she encouraged, a warm smile crossing her face. Just speak from your heart. With those words, the girl nodded. Closing her eyes briefly, she took a deep breath and held the letter closer, as if it were a shield. My name is Mia, she began, projecting her voice despite the tremor. I haven't always felt like I belonged. But this center, it taught me how to express myself, how to connect with others through my poetry. She paused, looking around the room, her confidence building as she noticed the engaged faces of those listening. My mom struggles to pay the bills, and some days we don't know where our next meal is coming from. But when I come here, I forget about our troubles. I can share my words and feel heard. Miguel felt tears prick at his eyes. He could see how her truth radiated hope, a small light flickering against the dark backdrop of their struggles. The mood in the room shifted again, more intense and fragile, a shared heartache that resonated deeply. Mia continued, I wrote this letter for the council, to explain how important this place is to me and to so many kids who need it. She looked down at the paper, her voice growing more resolute. We are more than the hardship we face. We have dreams. We want to be seen and heard. With each word, the crowd leaned in. The city council members exchanged glances, visibly affected by her fortitude. Even the man in the suit seemed less stiff, caught in the emotional flow rather than merely observing. What if you decided to close this center? Mia's voice quivered, but a fire lit her eyes. You'd be closing the doors to our dreams, to the art, the poetry, the stories waiting to be told. Just like mine. The murmurs began again, but this time, they were different, softer, more reverent. Miguel could see people nodding, their hearts warming to her plea. It seemed that her vulnerability had unlocked something beyond just a fight for survival. It was a call for recognition and dignity. Suddenly, an older gentleman in the back, a retired teacher who had always volunteered at the center, stood up, shaking his head in disbelief. We're not just a budget line, Mia. We're a community. You show that every time you step up to share your words. His words rippled through the crowd. We're united here, ready to fight for our space, our home. Miguel felt tears spill over at this wave of support washing over Mia. But as the tension in the room grew, a flicker of apprehension danced within him. This was a pivotal moment, one that could sway the council's decision. But what if it wasn't enough? The man in the suit finally straightened, determination on his face. We will listen. But more importantly, we need to find a way to make this work for everyone involved. The spontaneous uproar of support interrupted him. What does that mean? Someone shouted, and the crowd surged with renewed energy, voices echoing hopes and demands that echoed back to the high ceilings. Miguel sensed that they were at a turning point. Yet, even within this elevated emotion, an uneasiness spread among them. Would listening to their stories change the hearts of the council? As chaos erupted in the room, Miguel felt the weight of possibility. They were fighting for their love, their home. But the real fight was only beginning. Would they stand united? Or would their dreams unravel before their eyes? And just as that thought loomed heavily, a voice rang clear from the back, a new figure the crowd hadn't seen yet. What if I could help? A silence fell over the room as everyone turned to the source of the voice. In the back, a boy stepped forward, his clothes slightly worn but his presence unmistakably strong. It was Isaac, a familiar face among the community. He had started attending the center a few months ago, a boy known more for his quiet observance than for speaking out. What do you mean? Mia asked, still shaken but curious. Isaac had a reputation for his kindness. He had helped her with her poetry before, often sitting beside her and quietly encouraging her creativity. Isaac took a deep breath, his dark eyes scanning the crowd. I've been where you are, he began, his voice steady now. I've felt the weight of not belonging, of being ignored. But we can change that together. The sincerity in his words drew people closer, their attention fully captured. He continued, I've been working on a plan, something we can do to show them how much the center means to us. We need to make our voices loud and clear. A wave of murmurs spread through the audience, whispers of curiosity intermingling with remnants of earlier chaos. Mia, still trembling but emboldened by Isaac's words, stepped closer to him. What do you have in mind? Simple, he replied. We can organize a performance. A night where everyone showcases their talents: poetry, music, dance. We invite the council and the community. Show them our heart. The crowd began to buzz with excitement, hope igniting in the air. Yes, we can gather everyone, shouted Elena, her voice rising above the others. It's about supporting each other. We need this. Miguel felt a rush of adrenaline. The idea of a community performance felt thrilling. It would be their moment to shine, their moment to fight back against the threat of closure. Imagine if we all joined forces. Everyone has something to share. A night of unity, Isaac exclaimed, beaming at the thought. Mia nodded vigorously. We can even write a collective poem. Each of us can add a line about what the center means to us. That'll show how much we care. The room erupted into cheers. But as the cheers faded, Miguel could see a shadow dancing over faces. There were still questions lingering in the air. Was this enough? Could a performance truly change the decision that hung over them like a dark cloud? Just then, the man in the suit, who had remained silently watching, raised a hand. The room quieted again, a mix of anticipation and trepidation. A performance is a lovely idea, he said, his eyes scanning the crowd, but you'll need more than just a good show if you want to change minds. Miguel's heart sank. What does he want? He thought. The simmering excitement began to cool, replaced by uncertainty. More than just talent, the man continued. You'll need to show us how this center impacts your lives every single day. Tell those stories too, the true stories. You've already started, but don't stop there. A weight settled in the room. Many began to exchange glances filled with both hope and fear. The journey suddenly felt daunting. Isaac's brow furrowed. We will, he declared, breaking the silence as determination echoed in his voice. We'll show you. And as he spoke, Miguel felt a sense of purpose igniting within himself. Maybe it wasn't just about the night of performance. It would be a testament of their spirit, their struggles laid bare for the council to see. But before he could express his thoughts, Mia grabbed his arm, eyes filled with urgency. We all need to share our stories, Miguel. Are you ready to fight for this? In that moment, he realized the essence of their journey. This fight wasn't just about saving the center. It was about embracing their truth, sharing it boldly, and transforming their fears into a collective roar. They would need courage, creativity, and a heart wide open. The question loomed ahead. Could they face the vulnerability head-on? And would their stories be enough to shift the tides for their beloved sanctuary? As the sun rose higher, casting golden rays into the community center, Miguel found himself surrounded by the faces of hope and determination. The weight of the upcoming performance settled heavily on his shoulders. Yet amidst the swirling anxiety, he felt an unmistakable spark igniting a fire fueled by the collective strength of their shared stories. The rehearsals began in earnest. Each day, voices filled the air, laughter mingling with the sounds of music and poetry. Families came together, artists painted posters, and children practiced their routines. They all poured their hearts into this moment, creating a tapestry of resilience and unity. Miguel glanced over at Sophia, who was sketching designs for the performance backdrop. She looked up, eyes bright. We're gonna blow them away, Miguel. They want to know what hit them. Yeah, he replied, a grin spreading across his face, fueled by her enthusiasm. This is our chance to show them how much this place matters. As the night of the performance approached, Miguel felt a mix of excitement and fear gnawing at him. He couldn't shake the anxiety that hovered. Whispering doubts he tried to shake off. What if it fell flat? What if they didn't resonate with the council? But he also felt the warmth of the community's unwavering support. They had gathered more than just a performance. They'd woven a voice of hope that could no longer be silenced. When the evening of the performance arrived, the atmosphere crackled with energy. The community center came alive, the walls adorned with vibrant artwork and banners that read, "Together we stand." Friends and families filled the seats, eager to witness the culmination of their struggles and dreams. As the lights dimmed, Miguel looked out into the audience, seeing familiar faces. There was Maria, tears of pride glistening in her eyes. He took a steadying breath, feeling the warmth of unity surging through him. The show began. Act after act poured their hearts out: Sophia's captivating dance, Mia's heartfelt poetry, and Isaac's soulful music. Each performance filled the space with spirit, evoking cheers and claps that vibrated off the walls. Then it was Miguel's turn. He stood on the makeshift stage, a sea of faces before him, each one a piece of the community glimmering with hope. Taking a deep breath, he spoke, his voice breaking the silence. This center isn't just a place. It's part of who we are. We've fought for it together, through our stories, laughter, and tears. It taught us to dream, to believe in ourselves, and to know we are worthy of a future. He shared his journey, weaving tales of his family's struggle, the love of his mother, and the friendships he had built. As he spoke, he saw heads nodding, eyes widening, and even the council members leaning in, drawn into the raw emotion flowing from him. By the end of his speech, silence enveloped the room like a blanket, before a thunderous applause erupted, overwhelming him. Miguel felt the warmth spread from his fingertips to his heart, an affirmation that they were truly in this together. As the final act wrapped up, cheers erupted, drowning out the lingering doubts. The community had come together in an incredible, unshakable bond. The council members exchanged glances, faces softened, their expressions shifting from skepticism to acknowledgement. Once the performances concluded, a representative from the council stood up, a woman with sharp features softened by something almost gentler. "Thank you for sharing your stories," she began, her voice steady. "We hear you. We see you." Miguel's heart raced. Had they truly made an impact? The crowd's energy surged, anticipation thick in the air like fog. "We will commit to a meeting next week to discuss how we can support the community center," she continued, her gaze sweeping across them, "and allocate funds to keep this vital space alive." The room erupted into cheers again, louder than ever, cascading like waves crashing against the shore. Miguel felt tears spill over, joy flooding through him. They had done it. They had sparked change through the power of their voices, their stories woven together in unity. In that moment, amidst the laughter, applause, and the smell of fresh paint, Miguel realized the true transformation. They weren't just fighting to keep a building. They had created a community, a family, and ignited a shared belief that they could overcome anything together. As they left the center that night, Miguel felt lighter than he had in years. It was as if a weight had been lifted, replaced by hope and possibility. They had faced their fears, transformed doubts into dreams, and stood united against uncertainty. "Miguel," Sophia called, running beside him as they walked home. "Can you believe it?" "I can't," he admitted, grinning wildly. "But this is just the beginning." And it was. With each step, he knew they would embrace whatever obstacles came next, filled with the unwavering spirit of their community. They were ready to continue sharing their stories, lighting the way for others, building bridges of hope, and walking forward together. This was their journey, a journey of resilience, transformation, and love wrapped in a beautiful tapestry of togetherness. And together they would always rise. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support and leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your engagement truly makes a difference. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. This is how we keep the spirit of unity and hope alive.